everything is possible. It's just a matter of time and money, because healthcare sucks today, right? It's one of the most rewarding industries out there. There's no one that's doing what we do today, period. You just don't wake up one day and say, oh, this is our new business model.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited about our today's episode of Digital Health Interviews. Our today's guest is Eugene Borukhovich. Hi Eugene.
How are you, Alex? Good to meet you finally.
Finally.
Yeah.
Before we actually start, I want to say hi to my partner in crime. By that I mean partner in business for the past 6 years, who is the CEO of Biki. The funny thing is that his name is Eugene Borukhovich. He's been in digital health for many, many years. He is also a huge supporter of Ukraine. And we're going to put his photos, and you can find more similarities with my partner Eugene.
Let me guess. It's this, right? It must be. I haven't seen your partner picture, but
Yes.
looking forward to it. That's funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. And I think this is a good sign, but you definitely have to meet someday for sure.
We will. I'm sure we will.
All right. Actually, usually I started the interview asking to introduce our guests, but today I wanted to make it a little bit different since I want to talk about a different topic. I want to talk about the topic that is super important for me and it's important for you, and I hope important for millions of people on the planet, about Ukraine. And actually, I want to talk about this fact that I just learned just yesterday, which just blows my mind. You probably heard NASA just recently, they changed the direction of the asteroid, which potentially in future can save the humanity. And the cost of the operation was $330 million. And on October 10th, Russia hit Ukraine with the missile attack, and the estimated cost is around $400 to $700 million, which is insane. So some people are working their ass off to potentially save the humanity, and some morons are just spending millions of dollars trying to destroy it. How crazy is that?
We always kind of talk about, to your point, humanity and doing good in the world and applying, and as we're going to talk also about digital health, right? It is about health and well-being of us as individuals. And to your point, there's scientists that are working super hard, everything from the pandemic to, changing the trajectory. And there's evil people. There's evil people that don't care and care about themselves. And actually, one of the things that, to me, it was a big aha moment, aside from being evil, it's a mental health issue, right? Because of one man's mental health issue, this is where the world is at today. So,
very true, very true. Well, we really hope that the whole madness is going to end soon by the victory of Ukraine, of course. So please support Ukraine in any possible way, and this is really important. Let's finally get to digital health and talk about you. Your experience, your background is so unique and different. I know that each position, that each company and startup you worked for changes you somehow in some way, but can you pinpoint 3 main positions that made you who you are and that help you a lot to run the company right now?
Yeah, look, I always say I like taking things from 0 to 1 or 1 to 10, right? And, if I look at kind of one of the key triggers, and this is why, I've been in healthcare, health tech for 20 odd years. Prior to that, I've been in, fintech and Viacom and so entertainment industry. But I entered, at the time it was called Medco Health, it was pharmacy benefit management. And at the time I was, a geek, right? For lack of a better term. And one of the key components to all of this was a huge trigger in my mind that, holy crap, I can actually apply my technical skills to help human beings, right? How we started this. And so I kind of made a vow that never going outside of a healthcare industry, because to me, it's one of the most rewarding industries out there. And so that was one of the key triggers. It was the pharmacy benefit management. And I've spent about 10 years there. I think the next big trigger for me was I did my executive MBA while I was still at Medco, and I spoke to an executive coach who did not really understand me necessarily, but one of the things she said was, nobody comes to you. You gotta have people come to you, right? Like you gotta kind of invite them in. And so I remember going to meetup.com, so Scott Heiferman's Meetup, that was at the time. And I realized this was a tech community, right? Why can't we have a health tech community? So that's when I started the meetup in New York City, which we kind of quickly rebranded with Matthew Holtz. Shout out to Matthew Holt. Help with as a Health 2.0, and that's where I met Dan Kogan, who is he founded a company in doctor rating space. I joined him as a partner while I was at Medco and running the startup at the same time. So that was we can dive deeper into that. Never would do it again, but a completely different discussion. So I think those were kind of the key triggers. And then with Medco, we moved with the whole family as an expat to Amsterdam, kind of to start standing up the operation there. And I think that opened my eyes and my kind of worldly view, even though I was born in Ukraine and kind of raised in Europe up until 12. But it opened my eyes on how the health systems are very different, right? Netherlands at the time and US. So I think those were the three. It's the big company recognizing that healthcare, health tech is where it's at. I think two is the kind of the Health 2.0 meetup and the entrepreneurial spirit that I got from there, and then seeing the world on this side of the pond.
Very interesting. If you don't mind, I'll ask about a few positions still on your resume. I know that you've been working for more than 2 years for a Ukrainian company, SoftServe. First question, what were you doing there? And the second one, can you tell us what does it mean to work with Ukrainians? Is it somehow different?
So I guess I'll back up. After I left Medco in Amsterdam, I actually started my own consulting company, which I ended up selling to SoftServe. And I think, if you look at the kind of outsourcing business, typically, it is very highly competitive. The margins are constantly getting squeezed. And I think the goal for SoftServe at the time was to establish verticals and to kind of go more into the boardroom where a lot of the decisions were made. So this was kind of my forte as far as the consulting company that I was running at the time. And that was actually the first time I was back and still in Kiev. I met the current CEO at the time, where we sort of made a deal as far as the acquisition is concerned. And I felt that spirit. I mean, I remember landing in Kiev and I'm like, wow, this is where, this is the country I was born, right? Like, it really felt amazing. I think here's the thing that we kind of always say, it's kind of that Eastern European hustle. Everything is possible. It's just a matter of time and money, right? And so I think that's kind of one of the things. I mean, we have team members that are Ukrainian today at Your Coach. We're working with, Ukrainian firms and supporting as much as we can. And so that was kind of a big component of the SoftServe journey for those 2 years. And enjoyed every moment.
Very cool. Also, you work for Bayer as a global head at G4A Digital Health. As far as I understand, it's kind of acceleration program created by Bayer.
Yeah, so, I was not the one that invented it, right. The G4A. It was a gentleman called Jesus who kind of had the foresight to kind of stand this up. It was very much of a kind of accelerator, challenge-based. Interestingly enough, with SoftServe, I sold into Bayer, and it was one of those discussions as my payout at SoftServe was done. As much as I enjoyed my time, I did not like selling people ultimately, because that's the KPI. That's the reality of it. Nothing wrong with it, just not me. Right. And so once I sold to Bayer, it was one of those discussions. Do you know anybody who can run digital health? I've been in the health tech, digital health with the startup, so I kind of hopped over, and it started absolutely as more of an accelerator. I think over the 3.5 years that we kind of rebuilt the team, it morphed much more into, yes, there's the early stage acceleration and early stage kind of smaller investments, partnering, and then by the time I was leaving, we also stood up a venture building unit, which I think the premise, quite a bit, and you can argue both ways. On one side, there's plenty of startups out there that you can work with. You don't need to build it yourself. I think part of that is such large organizations, you need to succumb to, to get the talent internally, understanding the new ways of working, new technologies, and understanding the core business. So it kind of morphed. I'll be frank with you, I'm not keeping track of where it's at now and what they've done or have not done, but it was a fun journey. People get frustrated, I think, as far as the kind of just generally pharma companies, digital, what does digital mean? Still to this day, I get calls and like, well, we need to rethink what it means digital. Well, to me, it's very clear. Like, there's no doubt about it what needs to be done. So it's just a matter of, I guess, some level of frustrations from people within the life sciences industry and digital.
That's interesting that basically it's a huge corporation, but you didn't do the corporate stuff. You went to the startup world inside of that corporation, right?
Well, look, and let's face it, I think any large corporation that stands up any innovation unit today, a lot of it is to, quote unquote, keep me relevant, right? Because again, I don't want to get into the numbers, but if you look at any pharma company R&D spend compared to any of that digital innovation spend, it's like, it's not even a rounding error, right? And so the point here that I want to make is there is absolutely no mistake that any corporate that invests in it, it's either keep me relevant, right? Or let's understand what we can work with, what we can potentially acquire back to the core, right? I hate to say it, no life sciences company will shift overnight a business model, right? You just don't wake up one day and say, oh, this is our new business model. So lots of learnings for sure. And I think, the hopes are high. I think pharma in the last, let's call it 5 years and through the pandemic, as an industry, of course, you can't talk about specific logos, I think evolved. There's definitely more investments. There's definitely more understanding into the digital health and how and what it means to their business. But we still got a long way to go.
All right. Let's finally get to Your Coach. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so the background on this, Marina, my wife, she's the CEO. She's the real brains behind it all. While we were living in Amsterdam, she went through breast cancer. At the age of 37, she was diagnosed. Went through chemotherapy, radiotherapy, reconstruction, mastectomy, reconstruction, name it. And as part of that, and kind of in her own words, while the doctor saved her life, she discovered health coaching, which allowed her to live her life going forward on her own terms. So she became a health coach herself, and over the course of 2019, she kind of built out an MVP. It was really more for herself to manage her own clients, because we looked in the market, there was no, let's call it sexy, new, modern practice management solution. So we built it out over 2019, and 2020 as we incorporated as Your Coach Health officially, and I joined her after leaving Bayer. We kind of also realized that there's quite a lot of, this is an industry that is much, much needed. The industry as health coaching has been around for 2 decades, but I would say only in the last 5, it started coming to its own. There's a lot of science behind health coaching. And also, if you will look at digital health or healthcare broadly, right? I actually don't even, digital health to me is no longer digital health. It's just health and care. But the way we look at it, there've been a proliferation of self-paced tools that there are no studies around it, and people use them, right? And again, wellness apps. There've been digital therapies and digital tools that do have science behind them, right? And you always use the example of like Big Health. While they're not FDA approved, they're one of the most studied companies out there as far as that. And then there's the clinical protocols, right? And we know there's not enough clinicians, there's not enough nurses. And so we look at health coaching, even though it's non-clinical, we'll look at this as kind of a bridge between self-paced tools and clinical, right? And in many cases, if you look at health coaching can help manage, reverse, prevent, but also help people to be the best that they can be in whatever stage they're at, right? I'll give 2 words. It's the way I summarized it after taking a 9-week course in coaching. I called it non-clinical psychotherapy. As simple as that, right? Even though it's much more complex.
All right. Who are the health coaches that are working at your platform, and where do you find them?
first of all, I kind of never finished on the business model itself. So we started as a practice management solution. We give tools to the gig economy of coaches. We're focused on the U.S. market today. We're now, depending on when this will air, but we're somewhere around 2,700 coaches on the platform, and they practice with their own clients. We filed a number of patents around technology to kind of understand and knock on these coaches' doors that are eligible to work with our clients. And our clients are kind of phase one are the digital health companies. We just announced our first big partnership with Twill, artist formerly known as Happify, where we're powering up all of the live coaching. So again, on one side, we have the practice management solution with coaches practicing with their own clients. We knock on their virtual door, say, do you want more additional work? We put them through another pace in the quality control process. And then we make sure that they understand our client's protocol. So we don't teach coaches, how to coach. We select the awesome coaches and what they do with their own clients. We make sure that they understand the protocols, and then we embed them via our APIs and widgets into our clients' environment. So it's a seamless experience for those end consumers, because healthcare sucks today, right? From that perspective. So we want to make it as seamless as possible. And the coaches sit on the platform that they already know. They don't need to train on anything else. They know the platform, they know how to coach, they just need to understand the protocols. And those coaches, lastly on this one, while a coach is a coach, and they use techniques like motivational interviewing, for example, reflection techniques, of course, understanding what that person on the other side is going through is very important, right? So we're tracking coaches across 16 categories, and that ranges from metabolic health, heart health, women's health, and kind of the breakdown in there, and many others.
Do you need to validate coaches before you actually...
So that's part of our USP of having the practice management solution, right? So first it's algorithmically validated, but then we also go through a quality control process, right? To ensure that the coaches that we do pre-select algorithmically still follow scope of practice, that there are, some coaches are great in chat, but maybe not great on video, right? And so we need to make sure that depending on who the client is and what that program and how it's structured. So one of our key USPs is that practice management solution and that larger world of coaches practicing with their own clients, but also the validation and verification process that we pride ourselves on.
All right. Since you started talking a little bit about the technical side, can you tell more what are the main feature list of the solution?
Yeah, a lot of it, and I'm sure you'll link it, but Your Coach Health, we're pretty transparent in what it is. So on the practice management side, you have everything you need as a coach to manage your clients. It's setting up your practice and programs. It's taking payments. We don't monetize on that side of it from the perspective of coaches. Yes, there's a reverse gamified model actually, and we reward coaches for actually practicing more. Typical past SaaS platforms charge more the more clients you have. We actually charge less, right? We want to encourage and kind of going to go back to the mission of the company that Marina set up, is by the time we hit 2030 and there's 8.5 to 9 billion people, we want everybody on this planet to have access, not necessarily have one, but to have access to coaching, right? Because we do feel that there's a gap. So we really incentivize coaches to practice more. The more clients they have, the less they pay. So that's kind of that. And on the feature stuff, again, just to continue on, there's messaging, there's video, so they can manage their kind of more CRM side, financial side, but also the interaction. That's on the practice management side. And then we're now kind of in our version 1.0 of APIs and widgets that any company can embed. And again, chat, to-dos, the library that the consumer sees or health consumer sees is actually, kind of traversing, the coach experience and that end consumer experience.
Very cool. In 2020, in April, you received the HIPAA compliance certificate, if I'm correct?
So we're HIPAA certified or HIPAA compliant, right? But we're also for 2023, we're actually going for SOC 2 compliance as a company and others. So there's no certificate to be had.
Right. So again, if you need HIPAA compliance, I assume that you're targeting only American market in the beginning.
Yeah, we're laser focused on US. We're a US company. We just happen to, kind of traverse Barcelona and New York and wherever else we need to be in US.
But do you see any challenges in managing the company that is operating in the US from Europe, or?
Honestly, below zero. I think we're a virtual world, and I think, COVID has showed us we're a virtual world. A good portion of our product team is, on this side of the pond. So actually it works out fantastic because the mornings we spend with, kind of our core product team on this side of the pond. And then with investors, clients, prospects, starting 2 p.m., right, and on.
All right. But you do have expansion plans later on.
I mean, listen, of course, right? But again, as a young company, we need to stay kind of laser focused. One key thing that we didn't talk about as far as kind of the health coaching in the industry, we do foresee reimbursements coming. End of 2019, which was kind of a big trigger for us to really incorporate as Your Coach Health. We saw that the American Medical Association, together with the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching, issued what's called Level 3 CPT codes. They're test codes, so they're not being reimbursed, but they're out in health systems and in other places where you can start actually codifying these health coaching interactions, right? So that was out for testing. We're looking forward to next year to see how that progresses. Kind of the national board, together with UC San Diego, started a real-world data collection project to put this forward to the AMA for level 1, which is reimbursable CPT codes. So we're laser focused on U.S. market. Again, as opportunities come, yes, we wouldn't be good entrepreneurs if we didn't listen. And there are knocks on the door constantly. We're just prioritizing things always.
All right. Of course, as is usual, talking about the startup, talking about money. You've raised $1.3 million so far.
So we did a kind of what's called a pre-seed. I don't even know what the names to put on, but we did a pre-seed in 2020, 1.3, and then we did a safe note that's not out there of $2 million last year.
How competitive is the market right now?
So health coaching is a bit of a wild, wild west, right? Because, and this is where sort of our USP and what we bring to the market. We're literally, our tagline, we're the only operating system for behavior change powered by health coaches, right? And what I described earlier, the combination of the practice management, the matching, the quality management, the tech-enabled health coaching services, and embedding those into our environment, into our clients' environments, there's no one that's doing what we do today, period. Health coaching itself has been around, as I mentioned, 20 years, started in more of the wellness space, corporate wellness, and I think as more science is coming in, and as reimbursements coming in, we're expecting competition, and it's good, right? It's going to continue validating our model and the health coaching. And what we've seen, since we're talking about digital health, look at pretty much every single digital health company today, from gut health to MSK to diabetes management, weight loss, every single company has health coaching surrounding the product, right? Or even embedded at the core of it, right? So think of like Amada Health. That's been from day one, right? As part of their key core USP is with health coaching.
All right. So the platform is basically a marketplace, right? And marketplaces are usually twice as hard as any other solution because you need to find that balance to have enough, in your case, enough coaches and enough clients so both sides are satisfied. Yep. How do you manage to get that balance?
So here's the beautiful part about this, and we've thought really hard about exactly that, right? In a typical marketplace, you need the supply side to feed the demand side, right? Almost right off the bat as much as you can. This is why for the first 2.5 years of our company, which is we're approaching 3, we laser focused on the supply side, building that trust, the relationships in the industry, and again, never promising anything on the demand side. We were giving and continue giving the software, the platform to coaches to manage their own business, period, right? And that's how we've been able to build it. And that's still the core promise to the coaches, right? Once we were ready with that, and we have enough activity and engaged coaches and all of that, we only, I want to say, probably in the last 6 months, started talking about that if you are a practicing coach on the platform, you could be eligible for additional work, right? And our goal is to help these coaches because the coaches are amazing. Like, we have not met one coach that is evil. Like, it's truly an amazing profession. People go into that profession because they want to help people, but they are not very good salespeople. They're not good marketeers, right? And just to kind of give a little bit of an example, just in the last week, right, another coach, became a contractor of ours. She wanted 30 clients total, right? Within 24 hours, she got 30 clients matched, right? So this is the beauty of this, because we've worked on the supply side, and we're not a typical double-sided marketplace that expects this to be matched day one, right?
Okay, makes sense. You mentioned your wife, Marina, who is the CEO of the company. There's a group of people saying that never do business with your friends or relatives. And the other side says, oh, you have to do it with your friends or relatives because trust is super important, and of course you trust your friends. So what's this journey been for you to have business company with?
Yeah. So we obviously didn't take this decision lightly either, right? When I was leaving Bayer, there were opportunities galore to join at a C-level in different companies, to even start my media career as an option, or whatever it is. Obviously, we were talking about this when Marina was doing this in 2019 and building the prototype and all of that. I was literally talking to hundreds of startups as part of my role. And I would get a slice of the ear of, or Marina would get a slice of my ear, my brain, what I saw. And what we decided was that, you said the word trust, right? If you look at any co-founders, right, in any business, trust is literally the number one thing that you need, right, in that relationship. And, we've been together now for a quarter of a century. We've been married for 23 out of that, 25 years. We've raised 2 girls, our beautiful, awesome, amazing 2 products, 20 and 18. They're the first 2 products. And we looked at Your Coach as our 3rd baby that hopefully won't screw up as much as we did the first 2. So that was the big decision. We can read it. I mean, we've seen founders kind of stumble on stage because they can't read each other. We don't even have to say words. When we're talking to a prospect or to an investor, we know which one of us should lead immediately. We can read each other's minds. We can finish each other's sentences. We know what triggers I have. I know what triggers she has. It's just smooth like butter, right? I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. Just like in any relationship, just like with any founders, we bring decisions to the table. We need to sometimes discuss them deeper than, agree or disagree, and then bring in the team. And that's why we build an awesome team that can help us also navigate. We don't know everything.
Hard pill to swallow. How's your book going?
So, it's one of those things when I was talking earlier about the decisions that we had to make, right? So I love Bayer, still have a lot of the passion, lots of lessons learned. And actually back to Matthew Holt that I gave shout out earlier, he said, writing a book is really, really hard, right? So I think I wrote kind of the preview to 19 chapters. It was actually pretty steady, like pretty much every week I would do this, lots of feedbacks. I think at the last count was like 1,000 plus subscribers to this thing. And I did feel like I failed everyone, honestly. But I also realized there's always a time, A. B, I think the nuggets that I put out there, hopefully others can learn from. And then finally, on my own, lack of time, laziness, I'll be frank with you, realizing that each one of those chapters, now diving deeper into actual anecdotes, lessons learned, right? It's easy to write a blog post at a high level. It is very difficult to write the book. And I think a lot of the people that wrote books out there kind of gave me advice, get a ghostwriter, maybe at some point, I feel like I need to do this myself. This is my own challenge to sit down and actually write it myself. And so there will be a time, maybe there will be other lessons learned. Maybe I'll do a podcast just on that series and then transcribe it. I don't know. But hopefully those 19 blog posts are helpful to somebody in the world.
They are, and you have to know that we're waiting for the book anyways.
All right, awesome. Okay, good.
And since we started talking about the podcast as well, A Shot of Digital Therapy, which I'm a big fan of, and I highly recommend everyone to subscribe to the channel. We'll leave the link in the description. I admire how easy and fun your conversations are. Hopefully by season 12 it is now.
It is. We just kicked it off, yeah.
Hopefully I'll get some close to the same level. And the only question I have right now is, when am I going to get invited?
You know what? Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. We'll pick a spot after this. I love it.
All right.
Your quick comment on how easy it is. I mean, this was meant for Jim Joyce, my partner in that, and I. When the pandemic hit, we're both extroverted people. We needed a stage, and it was really meant as a mental health intervention for the two of us. And it's funny, I kind of always joke around in each one of them for the millions of listeners and viewers. It's not millions. I'm not Joe Rogan. We're not, Tim Ferriss and whoever, right? But we enjoy it for ourselves. Hopefully the guests enjoy it, and hopefully however many people follow it or listen. And we just kind of shoot the shit and just have fun and talk like we would talk at a bar, right? So,
which is great, and I think it's very fun to watch. All right. Finally, in the end, I ask our guests to give some recommendations for startup founders in digital health specifically. What would you recommend in order to be successful?
We kind of touched on the trust. So first of all, I think to a certain extent, it's a little bit of a misnomer. People saying, well, you need a co-founder. You need to build a team, right? It doesn't mean that you need a co-founder, but you need that trust. And especially as you're getting on that journey, it's those first 5 people that are laser focused and important to gather. And so I think you as a founder need to be so passionate about what you're doing, unlike in other industries. Not to say that other industries you don't need to be passionate, but I think as we're talking about our health and well-being, passion first, trust with the core initial 5 would be the second. There's many others, but you asked for kind of one, so I try to simplify it.
Thank you. I wish you luck with your coach, and I hope all your plans are gonna be successful.
Thank you, Alex, for the invite. It's been, it took us some time, and we'll see everybody on the shot one of these weeks.
Bye-bye.